It is 3:43. I'm Jumoke. Now, rap and physics. Who would have thought it? ConScience, the UK science rapper and musician, has been weaving the profound concepts of physics into the rhythmic tapestry of rap music to educate GCSE students. Today, he joins us to tell us more about what he does and about his new album, Original ConScience? Conscience? I don't know how it's pronounced. I'll wait for him to tell us more. Consensus, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, nice. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's Original Conscience, but I've spelled it on purpose, ConScience, right?
Yeah.
Because I like to do the little wordplay thing. So,
Absolutely
don't worry.
Brilliant.
Both are fine. Both are fine.
Oh, well, congratulations on its release. It came out today, so very excited for you about that. Tell us a bit about how you ended up combining rapping with science.
So, the really short version is about 8 years ago, I happened to know someone working at CERN, the Hadron Collider in Switzerland.
Wow.
And they had said to me, do you want to do a track with them? Now, the track then turned into what was an album of whole album of particle physics.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, I then did a tour in the States. I toured a bit in Europe. It gave me the opportunity to give talks and stuff and workshops, more importantly, with kids. And that's when I realized, okay, maybe this is something where I can use this as a vehicle to, help people know about science a bit more. So I applied for a grant from the STFC, which is like a UK science council, and they awarded me the Public Engagement Award just before 2020. Where I started this project, which is about the origins of the universe, and I'm trying to target GCSE and A-level students to essentially make them interested about something which probably is interesting to everybody, but we don't really think about it every day. Yeah.
And I'm curious, but for you, where did your interest in science begin? Apart from, okay, here's an opportunity. Were you always fascinated by science?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, I was kind of good at maths in school, right. And when I was in GCSE, I found like GCSEs not too hard. But when I got to A-level, actually physics was pretty hard for me, and I didn't pay attention so much. But then I did like a degree in engineering where you like need physics, right? And what I realized is, that paying attention that I didn't do, it catches up with you later. So even though I didn't enjoy my degree, I got my degree in aeronautical engineering. Yeah. And then afterwards was like, I'm never going to do engineering. Like, I literally parted ways, but decided I wanted to make it something where I could let people know, what they're getting involved in. And not to say that engineering isn't a super useful degree, because I think doing that has really equipped me for my whole life. So STEM in general, I have a massive passion for the uses of it, even though I'm not an engineer.
And it fascinates me because my brother studied aeronautical engineering and didn't use it either. So there must be something about it.
It's really common. Like, I think like 40% of aero engineers at the time, they end up going to the city and working in finance. And then a few of them do engineering, and then some people just go off to do other things. So it's kind of crazy because you think, everyone's going to become an engineer. But yeah, like for me, obviously, I just went and chose music, and I do a bit of computer programming and stuff like that as well.
Right.
So that's kind of where I got my strength from. But yeah, I'm creative, and I like to just like make stuff really quickly. And the aero degree, it takes ages. So.
And here's the thing: what I love about this, we had someone who does science experiments on TikTok, and I'm trying to remember his name, but it will come to me. He was like one of the first people we had in our science segment, and about the idea of accessibility and saying, look, there are ways to explain these things that may not necessarily be the traditional way, but actually make it easier for people to learn, because people learn in different ways, don't they?
Yeah, exactly, and that's the beauty of this project as well. Because on one side, I've got kind of world leading physicists who do public engagement, communication and stuff. Yeah. But then on the other side, I've got like really big musicians. Mm-hmm. So I've got Moses Boyd, Fionn Cross, really big in the jazz scene, and actually I have got a TikToker as well, Matt Green. Last minute I got him to drop a verse on one of the tracks as well. Right. So and he's a science teacher, so he's a rapping teacher, sorry, and he raps about science and all of that stuff. So I don't know if it was him you were talking about. Maybe you were talking about the Manny chemistry guy.
I'm talking about Manny. Yeah. Manny was one of our very first guests on this program. I love Manny. We actually did a physical experiment that he was guiding me through, which was actually, I think, for our studio managers, we're a bit like, oh, don't let it all go off. But it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. I've seen his stuff as well. Yeah, I mean that's the thing for me. I'm trying to come in from the musical angle, but all angles are necessary, right? You know, we're trying to essentially raise the engagement level, raise participation, and make it interesting. These things are useful to us. We need to build a strong future with everything that's going on, and this is the kind of way to do it, by including people who are not necessarily from that background. You're going to get ideas that are not necessarily come from that background, and those ideas are going to generate new innovative ways to solve some of our future problems.
Indeed. Well, I mean, I present jazz on Radio 3, so Fionn Cross and Moses Boyd are sort of up there. Of course, we play their music there. Tell me about the collaboration, though. Do they start and then you go, or do you start and then they go?
Yeah, so it's super interesting with them because I actually grew up in the same area as them. So I've known Fionn. I'm like good friend, like almost best friends with his brother Nathaniel from the age of 13, and Moses as well. I've known him for that long, but this is the first time second time I collabed with Fionn. And essentially, what I do with the musicians is I go to them. Look, I want to make a track like this. A track I've made with Fionn. I want to make a track about jazz. Drill. It was a jazz drill crossover, right. But then I said it's about gravitational waves, and then he doesn't obviously know what gravitational waves is, so I might explain a bit, and then after that we sit down, we just go through making music, and then I kind of handle the crafting of how do I want it to represent the gravitational waves. But ultimately, they do get a brief beforehand. We sit down and we just jam it out, or we come up with some stuff, and we approach it from a musical point of view, and then later on I craft it towards my interpretation from the physics.
Can you give us an example of that? Would it be all... I'd love to just hear a little bit.
So gravitational waves, the first verse, because gravitational waves essentially is about stars colliding or black holes colliding, and these are massive. Obviously, stars are massive. So these are like sometimes thousands of times bigger than our sun. Right. And when they smash together, they create ripples in the fabric of space and time. So this is relating to Einstein's theory of gravitivity. Yeah. And the first verse I did, I compared that colliding of two stars coming together to essentially me and Fionn coming on the stage and performing. So I go, two stars going back to back is gravity, a way that we attract the masses. Acrobatics, the twist went vinyl disc, because when it spins, it's mad dramatic. Flash traumatic, if you lot aren't Jimmy Neutron stars with the mathematics. Astral magic, the force on course to collapse the planet, smashed and vanish, wave. So that's a very brief, very brief, mad, right?
It's interesting because you don't have a background in music, is that right? So it's always just been something natural to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So when I was doing music when I was younger, it was like really it kept me out of trouble. Growing up, grew up in Lewisham, and it was like I started off as a MC, clash MC, right. And I used to like cuss people about using guns, because obviously when you're like 15 and whatever, and we're not even a gun country here, so people would be like, I got this gun and that, and I'd make a lot of jokes about that kind of stuff. Right. But I'd say when I was in uni, it was that then I was like, I've really found myself as an artist and what I want to represent, so I just decided to start trying to pursue a career properly in music. And yeah, this is where it's led me, basically.
I mean, which is astonishing. What is it like working with these scientists, though, and how do they respond to you? Because your brain and the way you create is so quick and fluent, and it must be quite an interesting thing for them, where they, a lot of their work is about process, it's about working out maybe very slowly in some ways what they are trying to achieve. So what is it like working with those kind of scientists?
I'd say for the most part, they're really welcoming, because the people I end up engaging with are already doing science communication. Right. So they're already trying to reach other people, and they can totally see where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. So for example, like last week or 2 weeks ago now, maybe it's last week, I presented the album at CERN. Yeah. And I basically went through, just like I'm doing with you, but a bit longer with a presentation and slides, how the album will help and what it involves, and obviously could go in a bit deeper on the physics and stuff. Yeah. And a lot of them were very receptive. And then I performed, and then what normally happens at the end is people go, "Oh, I'm not interested in rap music at all, but I really like this." That's just a general comment I've gotten from scientists, normal people from the public, everyone. They always like, "I'm not interested in rap necessarily, but I really like this thing," And so it's been good. It's been generally good. It was hard in the beginning to convince people this is a valid thing or it makes sense. But over the years now, I've brought such a profile and got so many case studies. It's hard to deny the evidence.
And I suppose what's fascinating about the work that you do is that you're opening doors in both directions, aren't you? You're opening doors for those people who maybe are into rap or whatever it might be, and say, come into the science world. You're opening the science world into the world of rap and saying, here's another way to communicate something that you consider to be really important. So you really are at the vanguard. You're at the forefront of this, which must be very exciting for you personally.
It is, and what I would also say, so in terms of, it's very innovative. We are literally, anyone I'm working with, and if particularly the artists who I worked with, they're already trying to do cross-genre stuff that's, not already been seen before, or something like that. So it's, I specifically also find myself meeting these people, which helps that. But in the artist, what I believe of the artist journey is, when you're doing something like this, it's essentially, you're laying the foundation and the road ahead. So people can't really consume it until you've already given them the whole road to go, hey, look, there's this whole place to go, and you can go this way now, and we can see stuff. So in the beginning, it was a lot harder than it is now. But even now with this album, it's going to be like, literally a couple of books worth of material, and I'll have to lead people through it so that the next generation, whoever wants to do it, can have a guideline. Yeah. So that's the hard part of the innovation. But yes, I love it. I love it in general.
Well, can I thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and congratulations on all your successes, and thank you for ploughing and going on and keeping with it, because I mean that's the most important. Other people might have given up, but you obviously have, you've set your mind, so to speak. Yeah. So it's a real delight to speak to you. Let me give people more details of this album. But ConScience, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. The album is Original Conscience, but it's spelled ConScience in a way. Original Conscience. It's released today, Friday the 27th of October. It explores the origin of the universe and how to use rap music to engage with the general public and students. And I was speaking there to ConScience. What a delight.